What's good, guys? Welcome back to another breakdown video. So we're gonna do a Monday breakdown, obviously with the pairs that we trade. So we're gonna start off first with US30. So let's start doing top-down analysis from the weekly, and we go all the way down to the lower time frame. So check this out. This is my analysis for these next couple of days. So if you guys look at the weekly, we did form a weekly resistance around the 39,900, also the new all-time highs, right? On the weekly time frame, we did have a very strong weekly bearish engulfing candle closure, and then we did close under this previous structure, which is 39,150, right? Now if you go to a daily time frame, 4-hour time frame, you guys can see that it's this area of resistance which price is currently trading under it, right? And then on here we did found an area of support, which as you guys can see, if you go into the weekly time frame, it was these weekly previous lows, which as you guys can see, price did reject, and so far we did find the support, which is just kept bouncing off from this area. Now on the daily and then on the H4 time frame, there is a potential switch of structures, right? So check this out. You guys can see on the 4-hour time frame how price was just pretty much inclining, creating higher highs and higher lows. And then last week we did have a bearish, pretty much a bearish reaction that we did end up rejecting those all-time highs, and then price started switching the structure, right? We went from creating these higher highs, higher lows, to then price creating these lows and then lower high, retesting the structure, which is one of the zones that I gave you guys last week, which is a 39,400, which price perfectly rejected and then broke back into the downside. So we did form a lower low. Now what I'm going to be waiting for is obviously to continue the trend with the bearish market right now. Since we did found, there's two potentials, right? Since we did found this area of support, right, and then price is pretty much trading above currently the 38,800, which is this also area, another area of support, right? If you guys look in the past, it was previous resistance, which price is now holding that support here, and there. Price broke under it, but notice how price broke back into the upside, right? So there is two potential setups that I will be waiting for later on today. So the first one, I'm going to be waiting for a deeper pullback into the 38,800, right, to retest the structure of support. Now if price manages to maintain itself above it, give you guys all this confirmation, bullish confirmation, then I'll be interested in taking buy position from the 38,800 obviously back into the upside. And if it continues breaking to the upside, this will be my full take profit with buys. Now for sells, I'm going to be interested in continuing sales, literally just going along with the trend. So if you guys look right over here, you guys can see that we have an area of support, which price broke under it, pulled back, use it as resistance, right, and continue to sell. Now price broke under this other area of support, which is roughly around the 39,150. We can say 39,100, 39,150 is the area of interest, right? So this will be the next pullback that I'll be waiting for price to give me pullback into 39,150, retest support, possibly use it as resistance, create the new lower high, and then from there on I will be interested in taking those sales back into the downside, right? So check this out. Very similar to the setup that we did take last week. If you guys remember, last week we did take these buys right over here, since price pretty much just rejected from this area of support. I explained to you guys the break and retest above the 39,230, which price perfectly broke into the upside. We got those retests like around this zone. We took this buy perfectly over here, and then we took the sells, which I told you guys that most likely price is going to take us out of break even and just continue selling, right? Which as you guys can see, it did. So it's pretty much the same exact idea. I'm waiting for pullbacks here to take the buys and then to take the sells if obviously those confirmation does match, right? Remember, it has to reject and it has to remain itself under, and then it must give you guys those confirmation, right? That's telling you that, hey, price is now going bearish, or it's more likely that price or bearish market is taking over than bullish market, right? Or opposite, bullish taking over the bearish market. So those are the things that you guys gotta pretty much pay attention whenever it comes to those area of interest. So area of interest, my bad. So the area of interest for sells, 39,100 and 39,150. For buys, 38,800. Now if we don't get those pullbacks here, and then let's say that we don't get those pullback in there, and then price just starts breaking under, and let's say that it does break under these two zones over here, then just simply wait for this. This is the only thing that I'll be waiting for if price end up, not maintaining itself above here and not pulling back there, but just simply break under this current low. If it does break under those current lows, just simply wait for the break and retest, and then you guys can continue the sales. And then if the sell volume continues, right, then the next take profit for me will be back into these lows over here, which is roughly the 39,250, right? So we can have take profit one like around the 39,400, and then the second take profit at 39,200. That's just the worst case scenario if price obviously doesn't pretty much reject this one or doesn't pull back. Now we're gonna go into gold. So this morning or last night we did take some gold sells, right? So we did take some gold sells. We waited for this. So check this out. We did take a loss last night, which was simply to pull back into a zone, which as you guys can see, price just took off, right? So there was two zones that I was looking at yesterday. I was gonna give you guys the analysis, but I noticed that every Sunday, whenever I give you guys the analysis, pretty much invalid because the market just continues the trend from the previous week. So it doesn't really make sense since you guys obviously don't want to be trading Sunday, right? Now in the VIP group, we do send out limits on the Sunday, depends on how the market structure works. But this was one of the limits that we did send yesterday. So if you guys see, we did manage, we were pretty much waiting for price to pull back into this area. Now we wanted price to pull back before it got into this other zone, right? Because this was another zone that I was keeping an eye, which as you guys can see is literally break of structure, break of previous structure, which is resistance, pull back, use it as support, right? Very easy structure. Now I wanted to take these sales first before price coming into this area, because I already knew that price by that time is going to come here, we're going to have some reaction, and then from there it takes off, right? Now I was not really paying attention at the time with the market there, I was out, but I did send up the limit, and then pretty much what I wanted, right? First I wanted price to give, before we got the candle closure, I wanted price to give me the pullback here to then take the sell, right? Which unfortunately it did not get active during that time. It pushed all the way under, and we did see those reaction from here. By the time that I checked my phone, price was already right over here, which it ended up taking me out of stop loss, which is fine. So we did notice that price did react from this area of resistance, which as you guys can see, price is using it as support, right? Now check this out. Notice how we broke above this new all-time highs, or the previous all-time high. So if you guys check this out, we did break above this previous all-time highs. We used it as support. Now check this out. Price broke above it, and then what did it form? It formed a new all-time highs around the 39.3 on the 23.50 areas, right? So now that we rejected the zone, right, I ended up taking some sales position last night on this zone that we end up securing over 1 or 2 risk to reward. I did manage to use a very large stop loss, since obviously we wanted to let this trade run, which we usually use around like 40 to 50 pip stop loss. This trade we did end up using an 80 pip stop loss, which we're still holding, right? We currently did run for 130 pips, 150 pips, hitting a 1 or 2 risk to reward trade. Now we just have runners running just risk free to pretty much see what happens next. But check this out. What I'm going to be waiting for during this New York session, I'm going to be waiting for another pullback into the 23.30, right? So pretty much the same exact setup as here. I'm going to be waiting for price to give me the setup right here to retest structure, retest previous resistance, to then use it as support, to then continue back into the upside, right? So that's what I'm going to keep an eye on, which is 23.330. And then another zone that you guys want to keep an eye on as well, it's going to be right here, which is the 23.05. So if we do get pulled back into here and we start seeing that price rejects under, this will be possibly a second entry that we can take the sells, right? So we're looking for sells under the 23.45, and then we're also looking for buys around the 23.330, right? So those are the two areas that you guys want to keep an eye on for today. Potential sells 23.45 if we do get pulled back and we do see that price rejects and remain itself under. And then if price perfectly pulls back to 23.30 and remain itself under, give you guys those confirmation, we're looking for the same exact buys that we did here, pretty much right over here, to then continue back into the upside. Now if price starts breaking under the 23.330, cool, we just simply wait for price to do this, retest resistance, use it as resistance over here to then continue selling, right? That's the only way that I'll be also looking for sales right over here if it does remain itself under or break and retest under the 23.330. But the buys, it have to remain itself above it, right? So just keep that in mind. So that's very simple, nothing complicated at all. We're just going to be very patient to see what's up with the market this morning. US30 looks clean, everything looks clean today. Most likely we should get those move. And then remember guys, just be very patient whenever price get into the zone, because you guys don't want to enter the market without those reaction or rejection, and then just guys end up getting stopped out. Just be very patient once price gets into these exact area of interest, right? So that's pretty much it guys, and I'll see you guys tonight with the recap. Peace out guys.